Today's topic is not an easy one, but it is very necessary. It is the significance of deep wounds and scars. As you know, healing is a continuous journey. And today we're going to talk about examining your wounds and your scars. Hi, welcome to my channel. I am Nicole Nelson. I am the author of Bear, my newly published book. It's about my life growing up in foster care and adoption, some life lessons God taught me along the way, and some of my poetry. And it can be purchased at NicoleNelson.com, NicoleNelson.com. Before we get off into today's topic, because obviously trauma can come with triggers, so I want to read the trigger warning from my book that I try to share before every event, reading, and or broadcast, just so everyone is aware. My story, it can be triggering, so I like to give people the space to log off, close the chapter, or whatever they need to do if this subject or a subject that comes up anytime I'm speaking gives them, a little pause or a place for reserve. So to remain integral and authentic, I wanted to give a disclaimer to the branding that is me. My story is my brand, and that may come with some triggers. I know some of you have heard some portion of my story while others have not. There is as much, if not more, trauma as there is triumph in my story. So by all means, if reading and or viewing or listening to any portion of my book brings things up for you that you are still on a journey to healing, flip past those pages or this video and close the book altogether or log off. I appreciate your purchase, and your time. However, the most important thing to me is that you are safe, seen, and heard, and true to yourself first. Please take what you need and leave the rest for what you need on your journey to wholeness. I completely understand. I pray that you find your way back when the tender spot no longer triggers you. Thank you. Because you are the most important thing in this moment. So if what you hear and or see brings up things for you that you are not ready to process at this moment, by all means, like I said, close the book, log off, tune in another time. But I share that all the time because sometimes the conversation goes in a different direction and that could come up, and I don't want anybody to be caught off guard. Because I have experienced a lot of things in my childhood as it relates to rape, molestation. There's substance abuse in my family. My mom was a heroin addict. I was taken from my mom in a traumatic way right out of my classroom in the 6th grade. So I don't ever want anybody to feel like, it was an unexpected thing. So with that said, I will be sharing today from Bear, page 117, and the topic is called Being. It is from section 3 of the book, which is called Removing My Bra. The significance of deep wounds and scars. So why that's in section 3 is removing my bra, obviously is because it's taking off and exposing, but I have a scar on my breast from a breast cancer scare that I had where they had to do a biopsy. And one day I was writing and I did the removing my blouse, showing your heart of giving love. And then I was like, the scar is like a deep wound, and to go in and make that scar and leave a titanium chip in my breast, they had to dig really, really deep into the tissue in my breast to remove biopsy samples of the mass that they had found. Thank God it was not cancer, and for those who have survived cancer, I can't even imagine. Just the idea of getting the biopsy was an emotional, stressful roller coaster for me and my children. So if you have actually experienced breast cancer or any form of cancer, because I do have a family member that has also experienced cancer and some friends who have survived breast cancer. I'm so glad they're still here. So get the tatas checked out. Take care of them. But yeah, I used the scar and the wound at the time to think about when writing this chapter, but the scars and wounds emotionally and mentally and physically that show up in your body, because like there's mental, physical, and emotional abuse that happen when it comes to trauma. So I'm going to read Being, and then we're going to discuss. So Being is a short, very, very short piece, not the length of like the other two that I did the previous weeks. But it says, as the bandages unravel, more of my true identity is revealed. Nothing is too hard for God, but sometimes just being can be the most difficult thing you've faced or done. Being present, being still, being vulnerable, being open, being true, just being you. It's the best, but it's not always easy. Writing this book is me just being me, but it's one of the toughest things I've ever done. And it's very true. In writing this book, I became a different person. I was okay with telling my story when I started. That was not a issue. But who I became as I was writing it had me go back and revisit like that person I was when I started, because I actually became a different woman and had to find myself relating back to the old me to finish the book. So what I'd like to share though in those wounds and scars is that you can't heal what you hide. And shame, as you notice, on the front of my book there is a subtopic there. It says wounds, wisdom, and worthiness, because the wounds is what I opened. The wisdom is what I gained from God along the way of my journey of healing. And the worthiness is what I developed towards the end of my story. It's been 30 years of healing trauma. You know, I was out of foster care. My stepmother passed away when I was, I believe, 18, going on 19. And fast forward to now where the book is out. My story is being told. Some of my story is being told. This is just the first synopsis of a lot of stories that I'll be sharing in the future. But you can't heal what you hide. God can't bless who you pretend to be. Shout out to Sarah Jakes Roberts. I took off my bandages and examined each scar gently and intentionally. Gently and intentionally, I examined each scar. I uncovered the wounds to see how they were healing and how it had shaped me. Not picking at the scab, but honoring what remained. Because sometimes what I found in writing was I was okay with telling the story, but I found that there were deeper layers of things that remained after the wound. If you look like after why do I respond this way to certain things that happen or being done? But then there's also, why do I operate the way I do, which is part of my coaching, calling versus conditioning. Like, are you doing these things out of the conditioning of your childhood, or are you doing these things because this is how you are wired and made and are supposed to do this thing? Because what you believe about yourself is what you're operating from. And we all are reflecting or projecting, no matter who we are, how much money we have or make or give, no matter what career we're in, no matter how many children we have or don't have, we are all projecting and reflecting. And that all depends on how we have grown up, the environments we have put ourselves in, and how we are hardwired. Are you hardwired this way because it's a trauma response, or are you hardwired this way because that's just how God made you and it ain't gonna never change? So like there's natural raw talent. Like I was just talking to somebody recently about writing. I'm a writer. I'm an author, and I'm a poet. Now, they all sound like they could all be one thing, but they're not. Because some poets are not great writers. Some writers are not poets. And some authors are not poets, but some authors are writers, and some writers are authors. So it just depends on like how you put the thing in the place it belongs. And your conditioning, meaning how you've been shaped in your home, in your job, in your environment, but your core of who you are, like this is just innate in you, can't be shifted. It's your je ne sais quoi. It's what you do, how you do it, why you do it. It's all the same. It's all encompassing. But then so how I dealt with that was the tools that I used to heal the deep wounds was identifying and acknowledging the childhood trauma, because once you see the trauma and name it and what that is, are you triggered or in this way because of that thing, or are you triggered because your values say that's not something I want to be a part of? So sometimes they can go hand in hand, but are you triggered because your values say I'm good on that? Or are you triggered because, oh my God, that used to happen to me when I was little, or somebody said something like that to me when I was little, and I don't want to be a part of that? And what in you has not let you heal that? And not a boundary like, oh, I'm not like I said, I don't want no parts of that. Or I don't want to go outside. I don't want to be a part of the crowd. I don't want to do X, Y, and Z because last time I did that when I was younger, this thing happened to me and it just makes me feel unsafe. So you pick and choose. And then the other one is to give yourself grace, because processing all of that, like I'm saying it matter of factly on this video, but it is not an easy feat. It is not, by no means. When you dig those roots up, you need to be prepared for what you're going to uncover. It is not just necessarily saying, oh yes, when I was little, I was molested. Okay, what else does that entail? How is that impacting your romantic relationships or with your partner? How is it impacting you with your children? How overprotective are you? How strict are you on them? What does this experience look like as a parent? It is not just how is it impacting you personally and within, but like how is that bleeding out over your life? What does it look like when you're on your job? What does it look like when somebody makes a snide comment? What does it look like when somebody compliments you? Because sometimes we brush off compliments because we're afraid or have experienced the wrong exchange when it comes to flattery or attention. So we tend to brush it off or get offended because we believe compliments lead to a negative or wrong thing. So you have to be sure that you give yourself grace as you heal and walk these things out, because it takes time. It's a long journey. It takes time to undo all those beliefs around these things, undo all of the behavioral responses that you have normally had in the past, and just how you exchange and communicate around healing those processes. Like you can feel the trauma and the change rise up in your body. Literally, it manifests physically, even though it's a mental and emotional experience. It manifests physically. Your heart rate goes up. You may start to perspire. Your mouth can get dry. Like all the things. You can have a physical. Your breathing can change. You can have a physical response to the trauma that you are healing and ridding yourself of that pain or that angst or that thing that's been so deeply suppressed that you now have to bring it out physically. Some people have been literally physically sick, like, induced vomiting because of all the things that is leaving their bodies, or you can just begin to weep uncontrollably. And there's a sign of fatigue and exhaustion, like you've been in so tight and tense and pulled together that once you start to relax and find peace, you either think it's boredom and you think it's wrong because you're bored, you should be doing something, or you sleep a lot because you've been in fight or flight and on the go all the time. And now all you do is every time you sit still long enough, you fall asleep. Because your body is releasing all of that angst that you have been carrying for who knows how many years. So once you start to do that, please give yourself grace. And the third thing, and I know this is wouldn't be not necessarily viewed as a tool, but I use it as a tool, and it is a great one. And that is to cry. Yes. The little 3-letter word. C-R-Y. Cry. To cry. Let yourself feel all the feelings. Even if you're angry, like, don't take your anger out on anybody. But in the privacy of your own home, your own time, you're angry at God, you're angry at yourself, or you're angry at whoever impacted you in that way. Feel all the feelings. We know feelings are not facts, because what's really happening in the moment and your response to what's happening is your feeling. But feelings are not facts. But at the same time, I need you to process what you feel. Cry. Get it out. Don't continue to hold it in your body. Be angry, be sad, be disappointed, feel the actual betrayal. Let yourself experience whatever the thing is that you need to experience emotionally so that you can move through it mentally, and then you can take action physically. So when I say cry, that's the main one that comes up, because you want to weep because you're finally getting free. But feel the feelings deeply. Don't just do the surface. I'm straight. I'm good. Ain't no big thing. It is a big thing. It's a huge thing. Even if you're happy about being free, feel that feeling. Celebrate the joy of becoming free. Even if it's a small thing, as you couldn't write your feelings down before, now you took out a journal and you put a sentence down on the page. Celebrate that sentence, because that matters. That's a journey of one small step towards your healing and freedom. So feel the feelings deeply. So those 3 things again are identify and acknowledge the childhood trauma. What is it? What was the thing? Name it. Because you got to bring it into the light in order for you to heal it. You can't, if you don't bring it into the light and clean it and get the bandage out, you don't want to get gangrene, abscess, and got to cut it off and losing, yourself. You want to identify it. Molestation, rape, physical, mental, emotional abuse, substance abuse, the divorce, the losing the job, the career, the house, whatever it is, name it, acknowledge that it happened. This is what is causing me this pain. And then give yourself grace as you take the steps to go towards healing, and then feel all the feelings, whether it's cry, sad, angry, scream, yell, laugh, whatever comes up for you to get free, because you're acknowledging, like, oh my God, I can't believe that's what was keeping me trapped. You can laugh it off. Oh, I can't believe that was what's keeping me trapped. Oh my God, all these years I've been blaming X, Y, and Z when it really was A, B, and C. So whatever it is, acknowledge it and say it. But remember, exploring the significance of deep wounds and scars, it is not an easy process. If you need somebody to walk you through it, I am available. If you want to take this journey, I would love to work with you to do so. You can apply to work with me as your coach at NicoleNelson.com under coaching, and you can apply there. We can book a free 30-minute discovery call to make sure we are a good fit and that I am somebody that can help you, because I will tell you, I am not a medically trained person, and if I am not what you need, I will definitely make sure that I tell you that. But if you feel like you need some medical assistance to do what you need to do, then I can give you resources for that as well. But if you're looking for a coach to help you process an event that you experienced and what the core thing is and how you can move forward to build self-worth around that experience, then I possibly would be a great fit to help you do that. And like I said, you can apply to do so at NicoleNelson.com under coaching. And if you have not already, please subscribe to my newsletter, which is also on my site, and you can get a free downloadable workbook to help you start your journey immediately, so that you can process some of those feelings privately. before we work together. So if you'd like to do so, again, that's at NicoleNelson.com, and you can sign up for my email newsletter. I send it out every week, and I share tips and ideas just like these here on YouTube, and some exclusive information I don't share anywhere else. So if you'd like to do that, head over to sign up for my newsletter. And if you'd like to work with me as your coach, head over to NicoleNelson.com and click coaching and apply. And we can work together to move you to your next phase of becoming the person that you desire to be. So with that said, that is all for today. I look forward to talking with you all again next week. And I will see you on the other side of your healing. I hope that you feel safe, seen, and heard. Most of all, have an exceptional day. Thank you for joining me.